All right, we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So in case you were checking on the crypto markets over the weekend, you've seen that Bitcoin has seen a massive breakout to the upside, reaching a price it hasn't seen in nearly 9 months, okay? It's on an upward trend, and a lot of this has got to do with what's going on in the broader economy, changes in the central bank's monetary policy in response to a lot of the big banking crisis that we see going around us right now. So I'm going to tell you what you need to know in this video because Bitcoin is in the middle of a new bull market, and we're going to talk about where this could go in this video today and a lot of other stuff that's happened since our last live stream that we did on this channel. We've seen a massive crypto airdrop happen in the space, and you could be eligible to get, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars just for being an early adopter of this technology. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know in this video today as a blockchain developer myself who works in this space on a daily basis, who watches all this and keeps you up to date on exactly what you need to know. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to this channel. And if you want to become a blockchain master, step-by-step start to finish, break into the blockchain industry, increase your salary well past 100K, I can show you how to do that over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Rodrigo, Kentucky Taurus, let's see here, Ton Coin Lever, hope I'm saying that right, Devon Shu, Meta, Mike, welcome. All right, so let's get into this. So again, in case you were watching the crypto markets over the weekend, Bitcoin is it broke past $28,000, which is the highest price that it's seen in nearly 9 months, really erasing this this drop that we've seen below this level that we sank last summer around the Terra Luna collapse and all that type of stuff. And so why is this? Okay. So we've seen a lot of changes happening in the broader economy, especially with the central bank in the United States and really across the world over the past few weeks. We've been following the Silicon Valley banking crisis where, one of the largest banks in the United States basically just collapsed. It went to zero because they had purchased lots of government treasuries, okay, had lots of people depositing into the bank that wanted to withdraw their funds. And because these funds were essentially illiquid, tied up in these treasuries, then really they weren't able to honor their depositors' redemptions, okay? And so that led to essentially a banking run, which essentially caused the bank to go to zero. We saw a bridge bank created by the FDIC to help backstop some of these because we don't want to see a broader contagion into the tech sector. We wanted people's payrolls to get paid. We didn't want to see contagion spread to the rest of the financial system either. And so in addition to Silicon Valley Bank, we've seen other banks, really face the same sort of issue because Silicon Valley Bank was not the only person buying government treasuries. Okay, so basically, one of the ways to help, essentially. But one of the ways essentially, spread out the customers' deposits, there's lots of different things that banks do on the back end. One of those things was buying government treasuries. And the problem with this was essentially that, whenever the interest rates change in response to the Fed's, tightening, monetary conditions, that essentially means that the price of the treasuries themselves go down, okay? That's kind of how this works when you're buying treasuries. The interest rate and the price of the actual treasury itself are inversely correlated. And so when you put those things in your balance sheet, you're basically betting on an interest rate environment. And when that interest rate environment changes and it negatively affects the price of the treasuries, and then basically everything that you've put in with customer deposits goes down in value. And that's the other problem is that they're also illiquid, okay? So that was one of the first major issues with the Silicon Valley Bank, and we see this type of thing happening with other banks. Again, this is not just something that they're the only person in town doing this practice. There's lots of other people doing the same thing, and there's fear for this reason that this could spread to lots of other banks across the entire world. And so we're seeing the Fed take preventative measures to help fight this problem, which is resulting in really a lot of ways, a loosening of conditions that they have set out to tighten over the past, maybe 15, 16 months or so, okay? Over last week, actually 2 weeks ago, we saw the Fed increase its balance sheet by $300 billion, all right? That's a massive move in the opposite direction from what we've seen in tightening monetary conditions throughout 2022, okay? It basically erased nearly half of all the tightening that happened during that year alone, okay? So on top of that, we saw an emergency measure over the weekend yesterday for the central banks to essentially, have a new measure to help increase global liquidity across banks because many people fear this contagion spreading outside of the United States as well. So this is something that really just happened yesterday, and this is sort of more fuel to the fire on top of everything we've seen before. That, in my opinion, is one of the reasons that we're seeing more price appreciation in Bitcoin, particularly over the weekend. Okay, again, Bitcoin put this massive green weekly candle, which yesterday took us over $28,000. Of course, we've seen a little bit of a correction in the short term, but this is a huge move in the right direction. So let's talk about the development that happened yesterday. So let me just pull this up here. So what happened yesterday essentially was banks. Let me just pull this up. Sorry, hold on. So basically, what happens was so the central bank changed the frequency of swap lines that from weekly to overnight. Okay, so what does that do? Basically, it increases the frequency that overnight loans can essentially get cleared across different banks internationally, okay? So U.S. Federal Reserve and several other major central banks announced a coordinated effort Sunday night, so again, this was really recently, to boost the flow of U.S. dollars to the global financial system with the aim of keeping credit flow to households and businesses. So the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, Bank of Europe, Federal Reserve, and the Swiss National Bank are today announcing a coordinated action to enhance the provision of liquidity via standing U.S. dollar liquidity swap line arrangements, okay? So basically, this is just another thing that increases global liquidity. So basically, we've got the Fed increasing its balance sheet by $300 billion. Essentially, this is this new development that I just talked about with that happened last night. Essentially, is another way to essentially do a soft bailout, okay, to increase global liquidity of U.S. dollars. And the other thing with backstopping other banks who have essentially purchase these treasuries on their balance sheet in order to give them liquidity so that they can basically have access to customer funds, even though they're locked in these treasuries that are more or less going to be underwater if they aren't already, is that they've taken the value of the treasuries at their maturation date and then essentially given loans based upon those values. So again, if you're not sure how bonds work, how treasuries work, essentially you buy it at a certain price, and then it has a duration, maybe 2, 4, 6, whatever years. And then at the end of that term, we say, well, this is going to be valued on this date. And then, of course, it's a yield-bearing asset during that time. But let's say that you bought a treasury that has a 10-year duration and you're only 2 years into that arrangement. Essentially, what they're saying is, okay, this treasury is going to be X value after you've held it for 10 years, which is 8 more years from now, but we're going to go ahead and let you borrow against that asset at the value that it's going to be in 10 years, okay? So really what that's doing is it's giving access to funds that they don't really have, right now in terms of borrowing power, which when you're talking about, borrowing money on a much larger scale, that's another thing that effectively creates money in the economy. If you're not totally familiar with how fractional reserve banking works, fractional reserve banking in itself essentially creates money in the economy because, let's say that you deposit $100 in a bank account and then only 10% of that actually has to stay in a bank. Well, theoretically, like the $10 that you deposited should be parked into a bank and not circulating in the economy. So it's like if you put it in there and then somebody else has access to $990 of those $100, then like that money's sort of getting, not really double counted, but you can kind of see where I'm going with that. It's like more money is out into the economy and moving around and buying things. That's just how it works. Like that's how loans work. That's how fractional reserve banking works. And this is a very similar type of thing where it's like you have all these customer deposits supposed to be in here. They're in treasuries. Treasury value went down, but now we're going to lend against the future mature value of those treasuries, and that's going to create a lot more liquidity into the system. And so, anyways. Whole point is combination of these, air quotes, banking bailouts and other types of things are just Fed increasing its balance sheet are really just adding more liquidity into the space. And so what we've seen time and time again in the crypto space is as global liquidity increases, value of cryptocurrencies that have adoption goes up, okay? And Bitcoin being the most notable example of that. Okay, basically busting past $28,000 over the weekend. All right, so why is this significant? Well, this really begs the question, are we seeing a new crypto bull market in play? So, my short answer is yes. By definition, we are seeing a new crypto bull market in play. Bitcoin has broken above its bull market support band. It has held its bull market support band as support. Okay, it's broken above the 200-week moving average here. The real question is this the new bull market that's going to take us, past our prior all-time highs and beyond? So that's the real question on the table, is are we seeing a new phase of monetary expansion that is going to be elongated enough for Bitcoin to break past its prior all-time high and then create a new one? So that's the real question on the table. So I'll give you a couple different possibilities on this. So one possibility is that essentially we are seeing that, okay, that we're starting to see the beginning of a pivot by the central bank of the United States. Okay, we've got the FOMC meeting coming up this week where they're going to talk about interest rates and what's happening with inflation. Again, inflation has been the real enemy that we've been trying to fight for the past, couple of years now. And a lot of the policy changes have been basically to try to bring down inflation. And we'll see if the Fed, what they have to say about the current inflation levels, whether they need to continue rate hikes in order to get inflation back down to their target, or if we're going to see some, change in how they're measuring. I don't know what the answer to that question is, okay? So we need to watch out for that this week. There's lots of questions. Are they going to pause rate hikes? Are they going to just start cutting them now? Are they going to do a small rate hike increase and then pause and then, start cutting things? I don't have the answer to that question. We'll have to wait around and see what happens this week, but that's going to be the next sort of piece in the puzzle that you want to watch out for to determine really what, can we sustain this rally for much longer? And the whole point is, are we looking for clues to see that we have a distinct long-term shift in policy? Because the other view on this is that this is a short-term, temporary easing of policy, all right, in order to basically prop up the banking system, but doesn't actually result in a long-term, Fed pivot. And that what we're seeing right now in the crypto markets is a reflection of that. So we could see some sort of temporary recovery here and maybe even some type of bubble like what we saw in 2019. Again, I was here when this happened. We had a pretty brutal bear market in 2018, followed by this big collapse, okay? And then we saw this nice pump for Bitcoin back up to, over about 60% of its prior all-time high, okay? But ultimately, that wasn't the run that took us to new all-time highs. So this was a bull market, okay? So by definition, this was a bull market, but it wasn't taking us to new all-time highs, okay? So we could see a very similar type of thing play out right now, where we see a lot of euphoria in the space because of this, shift in policy, whether it's a long-term shift or just a short-term shift to prop up the banking system. Time will tell, which could be, a bull market that takes us to, 40,000, 50,000 plus, but doesn't actually reach to new all-time highs of $100,000 Bitcoin and beyond. And if history were to repeat itself, essentially we'd see something like this, maybe followed by another short bear market / consolidation period, before we'd see a new expansion that took us off to new all-time highs that really break our prior records and push us to new levels. So that is one possibility on the table. Now the other thing to think about is that what we're seeing in the other thing to think about is you have to be aware of the consensus view. As we've seen over the past few years, every time everybody's thinking the exact same thing, that's when you have to step back and ask yourself, should I consider all the possibilities here? Sort of like the old adage, I think it was Churchill that basically said, if everyone in the room's thinking the same thing, then no one's thinking. At least I think it was Churchill. We'll give him credit for it, even if it wasn't. So that's one thing you have to consider is the price of Bitcoin increasing over the past, 4 or 5 days also could be lots of people just speculating that crypto is going to do what it's going to do in response to this expanding monetary policy. And as soon as we start to see evidence to the contrary, that the speculation could be over. Okay. So again, none of this is financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. But what we're seeing in the short term does look, good for crypto. The real question is, how long is this going to last? And is this ultimately going to push us off to new all-time highs? Now, if it does, I'm not saying that is going to happen tomorrow. Okay. I'm not saying that we just see this continuous up-only mode where Bitcoin busts, to a new all-time high level and then takes us, there in 2 months. Now, it could happen. It's in the realm of possibility. Okay. If, the alarm bell sounds and we see some clear policy shift from the central bank that's like, send interest rates to zero, it could happen. Okay. But we could also have lots of other major problems. And if we do have these other problems, it's not always a straight line. And if you've been a part of any prior, crypto market cycles, that it can be a wild ride to new all-time highs with lots of boom and busts along the way. Okay, I'm not saying everything's easy up-only mode. Okay, if you were here during this time, lots of these things were up and down, up and down, up and down before we actually started charting new territory. Okay. So those are sort of the different views on the table. That's what you need to know based on the fundamentals. And so the fundamentals are changing. We just don't know how long that is going to last and how long that's going to actually give staving power to the crypto prices themselves. So I don't know what y'all think down in the comment section below. Are we at the beginning of a new expansion that'll take us to new all-time highs, like well past, $70,000 per Bitcoin to $100,000 plus? Are we seeing some sort of, temporary relief in the crypto markets to sort of absorb some of this excess global liquidity that's entering into the system? Is all just speculation based on what people think is going to happen based on this that doesn't necessarily actually have any staying power, and we'll start to see, things blow up as soon as everybody just gets bullish again. Is this a big bull trap? I don't know what y'all think down in the comment section below. So Marcus says, unless they pivot and cut rates, new all-time high is not in the cards. I could see that for sure. So Above Realty says, thanks for the heads up on Arbitrum getting the airdrop Thursday. So that is a great segue into our other topic that we definitely want to talk about today. Okay, so Thursday we are having the Arbitrum airdrop, okay, which is announced. So what is Arbitrum if you're not familiar with it? Well, I talked about this on my channel for months and months and months and months. I've been saying, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for this. And if you heeded my, heeded my heads up, if you did what I said, then you are likely going to get thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency completely for free, just for being an early adopter of new technology, okay? So what you can do is go to the Arbitrum website, okay, and then connect your wallet and click on check eligibility. So I've just got a burner wallet pulled up here. This won't actually show my eligibility. But what you can do is you can see this list of criteria. Again, this is a burner wallet. If you have criteria, it'll basically say something like you're eligible. I can't remember what the copy is, but it has different, it has different criteria here. Okay, you click on those and it'll tell you based upon, did you bridge to Arbitrum? Did you do transactions over time? What was your frequency? What was the value? And it'll give you points based on each of these categories, and it'll tally up, how much Arbitrum you are eligible for. And then when the actual airdrop goes live, then essentially you can just claim your tokens, okay? So if you're not familiar with what Arbitrum is, and if you didn't get the airdrop, okay, I can kind of give you some tips on how to maybe get positioned for a future airdrop. So live them by the minute. So Arbitrum is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. Okay, so what is that? Well, basically, people complain about Ethereum being too slow and too expensive to use. Well, the whole end game of Ethereum scaling is creating something called a layer 2. Basically, this is where you create a separate environment that works kind of like a blockchain, but it piggybacks on top of Ethereum, and you pay the gas fees in Ether, the native cryptocurrency of the Ethereum blockchain, and then that environment essentially settles the transactions back on Ethereum. So Arbitrum is one of the top players in this space, okay, the highest amount of TVL, okay. And so I've been talking about this project for a long time, months and months and months and months and months. At this point, really years, okay? And I said, like, hey, look, Arbitrum doesn't have a token yet. All right, this was back then. And I was saying, I've been the recipient of many airdrops in this space, from like Uniswap to 1inch Exchange. Let's see here, ENS, so many others, right? The whole idea is go in, use the technology, and then see if you're eligible to get that free cryptocurrency that they retroactively airdrop. And I was like, hey, if it doesn't have a token yet, you need to go get in position for this, because Optimism did the same thing. It's one of their biggest competitors, another layer 2. Optimism did their airdrop, and I was like, guys, Arbitrum is one of the most glaringly obvious projects in the space to get in position for. And if you did that, then you're likely going to have thousands and thousands of dollars waiting for you on the other side. Okay, so if you didn't, so go check your eligibility. Let me know in the comment section below. Did you get the Arbitrum airdrop? Okay, if you didn't, I don't think that Arbitrum is going to do it rolling airdrop like Optimism. Okay, you start using Optimism. They are doing a rolling airdrop, and so you could have some eligibility there. But let's talk about some other ways that you could, get in position for another airdrop. So again, you want to start using stuff that doesn't have a token yet. All right. But you can also look at other people who have gotten a lot of massive airdrops and essentially model what they're doing and find other stuff and their type of behavior to see if you can qualify for the same thing. So like this is a list of wallets that has, gotten a lot of the top airdrops like Arbitrum, Optimism, Blur, Looks Rare, ENS, DYDX, 1inch, Uni, all this type of stuff, over $250,000 worth of airdrops. You can basically like look to see what are they doing, okay, what projects are they using now, and do similar types of things, all right? Here's another project with basically $250,000 worth of airdrop rewards, okay? You can look at these wallets and see what projects are they using to give you some ideas of things that you haven't done already, so that you can, get in position for that. So another thing to know is, layer 2 adoption is really strong right now, okay? So you can see the type of activity here. Oops, sorry. You can see the activity on the Ethereum layer 2 ecosystem here. Really trending higher, okay, especially if you measure it in ETH terms. So this little slider will show you the amount of ETH TVL locked into it, okay? So USD is going to obviously fluctuate like crazy because crypto is very volatile right now, but you can see how it goes up like this, okay, based on the total ETH value. And so we're basically sitting at all-time highs. And now a lot of people are skeptical that the layer 2 adoption is really just about people farming for airdrops. So what does that mean? It's basically like we see transactions going up, but the data is actually showing that Arbitrum activity has been way up since the airdrop was announced. So that's really significant, okay? Because if the airdrop was simply people if the activity is simply people trying to get airdrops, as soon as they announced it, you would expect them to just like stop doing anything. All right, but that's not what's happened, okay? It's continued, it's maintained, and some things have actually increased, okay, even after the airdrop has been announced, okay? So that's a really important thing to understand. So why is increasing adoption matter? Basically, my long-term thesis in the crypto space is, that as you create demand for the technology, that technology can accrue back to some of the cryptocurrencies themselves, things like Ether itself. So the more people start using the Ethereum network, that over time, that means the value and the price of Ethereum or Ether can actually go up. I mean, it kind of stands to reason based on supply and demand economics. Ether works kind of like a commodity in this case. There's lots of different things you can do with it. You can stake it to earn yield. You can use it to pay for transactions. You can use it in DeFi. And the more that you increase the activity surrounding that ecosystem where that asset is inextricably linked, that the value of that asset can go up over time, okay? So again, we're seeing lots of adoption in the layer 2 space. This is really bullish for the Ethereum space because we're burning ETH when new transactions are created. Okay, and the Ether supply, on large time frames is decreasing. So you can look at things like ultrasound money. Basically, we burn ETH anytime we create new transactions, and as the network activity increases, like you can see that ETH is way below the line, way below the issuance that it was whenever the merge happened. So again, we merged to proof of stake. Okay, 186 days ago. This was the Ether supply. It went up for a little while post-merge, but then boom, started to just completely go down. And if we do see this space continue to get adoption right now, cryptocurrency prices going up, one of the best marketing for the space. It gets a lot of eyeballs. And if prices continue to go up, this can be sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy where you start burning more Ether when other people are trying to, accumulate it and use the chain. Okay. And this could be a perfect storm to watch the price of Ether go up alongside Bitcoin, because we're creating less and less ETH, or less and less ETH getting available, month over month. Okay. Somebody says definitely you only use official links on their socials. That's right. So basically, when you're looking at airdrop eligibility, you always want to make sure that you're using the exact websites that are published by the social media accounts of the people. You can always check who's following them. Make sure it's the one. All right, everybody. That's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That helps these videos out so that people learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can get to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those, you went to the next step, or hey, maybe you'll take a master's shortcut entirely. I should have mastered blockchain step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. Okay. You have to be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time. Thanks.